Record her. So, topics I love discussing, specifically fantasy football related, right? And it's going to be talking about players I hate. That's got to be up there. Got to be up there. Talking about players that I don't want, I mean, which I guess is the same as hating, still up there. But more importantly, you're ranking them and debating that. That's got to be at the top of the list of discussions that, you know what, you can never have a bad discussion on rankings. But what's going on, everybody? It is level 11 of the Level Up Fantasy Football Podcast. It is your boy Natter alongside the Tip. Man, how you doing over there?
Man, I'm happy, Natter. I'm happy that we were able to do this show. I'm happy that this show is about to go down. We got Chris Harris of Matthew Berry's Fantasy Life. There he is in the flesh. Had the pleasure of working with this guy several times last year and met him at the expo and met several of the people that he works with at Fantasy Life. Dude is just as genuine as can be and started something called the Cookout. And we'll talk a little bit about that. But with further ado, Chris, how are you, man?
Man, I'm doing well, Tip, and it's so good to see both you and Natter again. And this is the right time to really be getting together over the off season to just to kind of let our hair down, right? I mean, we go through the end of the 2024 season, and of course, at the end of the season, everybody wants to relax, but we can't relax, right? It's just the playoffs are coming, Super Bowl is coming. It's like, all right, well, after the Super Bowl, let's go ahead and relax. No. We don't even get that time. The combine's coming around the corner. The draft's coming around the corner. So we've gotten through all of that, and fellas, now we can actually sit down, take a breath, and think about what's coming ahead of us in the next few months, right? Because they're already talking about, what is it? Underdog is already released the next Best Ball Mania. We're talking about the fallout, like dynasty rookie drafts are, those are that's the big thing that everybody's talking about right now. So it's just, there are things that we can talk about. There are things that we can attend to. And of course, Scott Fishbowl, that is going, like the invites for that are coming out. So we've got that to look forward to over the next couple of months as well. But in the meantime, let's reflect, let's marinate on some of the information that the draft and that what the league has given us so that we can at least make sure that we're prepared for the upcoming season, because it's going to be here sooner than we think. So now would be the time to really try and form our opinions and figure out how we're going to attack our rookie drafts and our redraft roster building approaches over the next couple of months.
Yeah. And speaking of formulating opinions, Tip and I, mostly me, have been asking specific guests questions.
All you.
Okay. And you know what? I've been having this unpopular opinion, and you know what? It's unfortunately been incredibly unpopular.
All right.
But my unpopular opinion is that a guy should never wear blue jeans. And it should, if you're going to wear jeans, it should be the color khaki or brown, whatever mixture of tan you want to pick, or black jeans. Okay. And my logic is that whatever outfit that you're creating, black, or I guess we'll keep it as tan color jeans, always fit the outfit better than blue jeans. And honestly, it just doesn't have a classy, stylish look to it, in my opinion. What are your thoughts?
You know what, Natter? I'm going to have to agree with you on this take, and I'll tell you why.
Okay.
I've now started to go down this route, maybe because I'm older. I'm going to be 42 here in the next couple of months.
Don't look like it.
And I appreciate that. But as I'm getting older, I'm starting to be a little bit more conscious of just like the things that I'm wearing. And I do have a few pairs of blue jeans, but those are from I don't buy clothes for myself all too terribly often. But these are like clothes and jeans I used to wear like when I was in my early 30s. Mid 30s and all of that, and they are just your regular old blue jeans. But now I'm trying to find shirts and polos and other stuff to go with it. It just doesn't hit the same way. And now I do have a darker pair of blue jeans. They're and I almost would prefer them to be black jeans because, to your point, the stuff that we wear, the shoes I typically have that go with them, and anything that I put on top, it would just flow better with brown or black. So honestly, I think I do kind of agree with you that the darker color, whether it's black, brown, tan, or whatever, I think that might work better for me, me personally. I'm not going to hate. I'm not here to judge or whatever. If that's your personal preference, you go ahead and do it. But no, I think I'm on your side. I think I'm on your side on this one, man. I think black, brown, tan, that might work better.
Well, look, Chris, look, the first time I ever met you in person, you had on this really dope color. It was like, it almost looked like a comic book strip of the the fit was dope, bro. Like you had the white t-shirt.
Oh, I do. I had that shit on.
Like it was dope. Like and there was no blue jeans at all in that wardrobe that you had. And I remember seeing it, I was like, oh shit, there's Chris.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh damn, look what he's wearing. I was like, okay, I was checking him out. I was like, okay, it's pretty dope.
Yes, sir.
I'm a blue jeans guy. What'd you say, Natter?
Say pause.
Say pause. Yes, because I was checking him out. Right. But look, I am a blue jeans guy through and through. You know, but I don't knock, you know, wearing, you know, other outfits that match each other. Or now the khakis I can't get with. I can't get with the khakis because I don't work
color
at Sears.
Khaki. I don't work at color khaki. They've color jeans. It's color khaki though.
Okay. Now you didn't say that yesterday. Natter.
No, I did. I said the color khaki.
You said the color khaki, and I think khaki. I think tacky. So that's just me. But I will say this: when you say khaki colored jeans, I can get with that because you can have like a sand color outfit where the top is sand color or khaki, and then I can get with that as long as it's a jean fit. It's got to be jeans for me. It can't be the khaki. Sure. Yeah. So now you're starting to pull me in a little bit, but I'm still a blue jeans guy all day for me.
And I prefer wearing like white shoes or like
yes, white shoes are cool. Yeah.
And so like one of my favorite pairs of shoes, and actually I don't have them anymore, is like the Nike Cortezes. Those are like my favorite, like old school like style shoes. So like Nike, like the white Nike Cortezes with like either like the dark blue stripe was like my favorite, but like a black stripe with the black swoosh on it. That goes with pretty much. That would go with black pants. That would honestly go with like your khaki colored pants as well, or khaki colored jeans with like a white t-shirt on. Shoot, man, I could rock that like all weekend, man. That's easy. That's easy, man.
All right. I mean, look, we can give fashion advice, but we're not gonna do that today. We're gonna give some more advice. But before we do that, Chris, talk to us about the cookout. And a little bit about Matthew Berry's fantasy life. What are some of the great things that you're doing over there? Some of the great projects that you got going on upcoming as well.
Sure. And the tip, you've been a part of this for the past like couple of years or so, but the Cookout is a group of minority, and I used to say minority content creators, but these are minority personnel that work within the sports media industry. I mean, because we're not just folks that are going to be on camera, but there are folks that are behind the scenes. We've got producers, we've got editors, we've got people that have experience all across the industry. But we've banded together in order to provide not just the institutional knowledge and situational awareness about where folks can go for resources, but also being able to provide that level of mentorship to other folks as they come in, help set expectations about what it's going to look like trying to get your first job, or helping you establish the network so that if you are trying to at least get in contact with somebody that's a director of content or a senior editor or somebody that has that level of, let's say, experience or acumen, so that if you are looking to grow your skill set in a specific area, we can at least point you in the direction of somebody that would at least want to sit down and talk with you and give you the ins and outs of their position and maybe provide some feedback as to where you're at. And that's essentially what the Cookout is. It started about 3-4 years ago. Started around maybe 10-ish members or so, grown to around like 50 or 60 now. And really, it's one of the things that I'm trying to concentrate on this year is trying to establish like more or less a way for us to create that level of community amongst each other. And while we're all kind of growing and doing our own thing, and we all want to establish our own brand and make sure that we're accomplishing our own specific goals, we should also want to be able to share some of the things that we've come across, good and bad. So establishing that level of community across the entire group, trying to find ways for us to continue to lift each other up, whether it's through financial, like whether it's through like donations or setting people up with jobs, or whether it's getting people the equipment that they need. I mean, all those things should be a part of, like, at least in my mind, what the cookout is going to be from like since its inception, like all the way through. So yeah, trying to at least pave the way for the next generation of content creators to not have to, and not just content creators, but all folks that are a part of the industry, but pave the way so that the next wave of people that come into this space don't have to go through the same things that we all did, like when we first got in here, essentially working for free and doing all that type of stuff. And that kind of dovetails into my role over at Fantasy Life. I mean, they've been supportive of the group since I came on. This is now my 3rd season over at Fantasy Life, and from assisting with content planning to being a writer to working on the shows that they have there, whether it's on TV shows, podcasts on YouTube, Matthew Berry's Fantasy Life. Go check us out on YouTube. I've kind of run the gamut, more or less, working on the newsletter. So go and sign up for the newsletter. It's for free. Find it in your inbox almost like every morning. But yeah, I've had the good fortune of being in there not since the beginning, but shortly as things were starting to pick up. So we've gone from a small business to, I guess we're now considered a mid-sized business, at least within the terms of what the Fantasy Sports Gaming Association uses to evaluate different companies. And we just continue to rack up the awards. I think this past year at the FSGA, it was like best writing, best audio, best radio show, like all sorts of stuff. Right now, like one of the big projects that I've been working on, it's an article series called The Explainer. So my background, if I'm not cosplaying as a football analyst or fantasy football analyst, I'm an engineer. I work for the Air Force. And so I try and use my technical skill set in order to make things simpler for people to understand. So when you see other analysts spouting off yards per route run, air yards, targets, targets per route run, any of the advanced stats, and it might not sound like they know what they're talking about, or you hear the stats and you don't know what they're talking about. I'm working through an article series right now trying to break down those stats into something that we can all understand. I'm actually writing one up on average depth of target, trying to liken that to air yards and targets, and how you can kind of combine a lot of the basic stats that we use in order to come up with some of these advanced stats. So yeah, kind of working my way through just pretty much any metric that folks try and spout on a day-to-day basis, and try to make it more digestible for somebody that's a bit more casual about it, or maybe they use film as a way to evaluate players. But for me, since I do have that technical background, I do like to use numbers to make my case. I'm trying to at least break it down so that anybody can do what I do. You know what I'm saying? So that's really what I've been doing over at Fantasy Life. I'm trying to make things simpler for the casual player to try and understand. And it's been a wonderful thing that Fantasy Life has given me that platform to kind of live my truth, which is like I try and be a teacher as much as possible. So it's been really a great experience, and I hope to continue doing more. And that's why it gives me great chances to work with folks like both you, Natter, you, Tip. I mean, anybody. I mean, to be quite honest. But yeah, it's been great, like working over there for sure.
Love it, man.
Basically, what Chris said is he's just a genius and he's better than everybody. That's what I heard. That's what I got out of that. He just said skill issue and a skill difference between me and everybody. No, I'm just kidding. I mean, that's always good stuff to hear, because obviously, there's a huge difference between people that know what they're doing and know what they're talking about. And then the biggest issue, which you could broad this is obviously not necessarily fantasy football related at the moment, but you could broad this brushstroke to teachers in the actual teaching industry, because a lot of times, obviously they're intelligent. Sometimes they just don't know how to convey that intelligence. And that is probably one of the biggest issues. So, I mean, you could have a lot of information, you could know a lot of information, but if you can't present it in an easy to consume fashion, then it doesn't really matter what you know, because nobody understands it except you. And everybody just gets left confused But
yeah, trying to sound smart versus actually being smart, the two almost completely different concepts. And a lot of people, they sound smart, but then when you ask them to really explain what it is that they're trying to convey, if they can't do it properly, then honestly, in some cases, they might not know what they're talking about. So unless you can convey it so that the person with the least amount of knowledge in the subject area at least walk away saying, okay, I kind of get what you're talking about, then at least to me, you're not doing your job right. And there are a lot of great analysts in this space that I think do a good job of it. And I'm trying to be one of those.
Absolutely.
There we go. Tip, lead us on.
Well, so, look, we got to talk about the draft and the aftermath that happened with that. But before that, Chris, you told me you were actually at the combine too. So we want to talk a little bit about leading up to the draft. We want to talk a little bit about what you saw at the combine, who you talked to. Was there anybody who stuck out to you when you were out there? And then also we want to talk to you a little bit about, what you were hearing. What were some of the rumblings out there? Because we all hear about it. And Cecil Lammy said it really great. And I know that people have said it before and even after. It's the season of lies. We're entering into that season of lies as the combine started. So we want to hear some of the good, juicy tidbits that you can share that you overheard at the combine, because us outside of the combine, we were hearing different things. We saw Shedeur go up there. We saw, we know that he didn't necessarily throw any passes or do any, runs or anything like that, but he was there and he was speaking. So we just want to hear a little bit from you about that experience, and then we're gonna get into some meat and potatoes with the top 5 rookies that we all like.
Oh, sure. And I would recommend that anybody that works in this space, if you can get a chance to get out to Indianapolis for the combine, do it. Even if it's just for a couple of days, it's a great experience, not just to be out there and actually see all of the sausage being made, more or less, but you can get exposed to it. I think just from a fan standpoint, because I think at the end of the day, a lot of us that work, especially in fantasy football, we're fans at that. Once it comes to stuff like this, when it comes to things like the draft, when it comes to things like the combine, I mean, we're primarily fans. Yes, we try and break down like what it means in terms of draft capital and who goes where and the fallout and what this means for our teams, whether it's for dynasty or for redraft in the upcoming season. But for right now, we primarily operate as fans. And so if you're in Indianapolis and you're walking down the street and you just happen to bump into, you'll see, I think for me at least, this past year when we were over at the combine, having drinks over at one of the steakhouses that's out there, and Joe Brady just rolls up. He rolls up with a couple of his dudes there, offensive coordinator for the Buffalo Bills, and I mean he's just kicking it there. And he pulls up, and of course I turn to him like, hey, of course I know who you are, like what's going on, and I was asking about James Cook. I was like, hey, what's going on? I mean, do you think he's going to catch a few more passes? You think Josh is still going to play the Superman thing? He didn't give me one way, he didn't say anything like one way or the other, but I had to ask, I had
absolutely.
to ask. But it's just stuff like that where you will see not just coaches, you'll see players like walking down the street, pass by. I don't know why Clyde Edwards-Helaire was there, but just happened to see CEH like while we were out there. But of course, all the other analysts of people that to be in the know. I mean, Mina Kimes was there. Of course, the big boss, Matthew Berry, talked to him for a little bit, having drinks at that same steakhouse like earlier that night. Was talking, got a chance to meet Stephania Bell. So just like you'll see people that you recognize, that you've followed on Twitter, you've seen on shows, you've seen on TV, and you have the chance to actually interact with them on a human basis. It's like you can walk up and be like, hello, Matt Harmon. Like, my name is Chris Allen. Although, like, Matt knows me. We go way back. But, like, it's like you see these people and you get a chance to talk with them. You get a chance for them to know who you are outside of your Twitter avatar. So, first and foremost, I would always recommend, if you have a chance to get out to Indianapolis for at least a couple of days, go ahead and do it. The nightlife and all that stuff there is great. Not gonna lie to you, but it's a blast. But while I was there, seeing a lot of the prospects there, got a chance to actually talk with Will Howard, so the quarterback out of Ohio State. I mean, that's where I live at. Also, a couple of the running backs. I actually caught the interview, or no, was it the interviews for I think it was Henderson, like while I was there as well. And then a lot of the offensive linemen along with that. I saw Shador like walking down the street at one point, but I didn't catch any of his interviews just because that was just too much of a media circus. But still seeing a lot of them in action, watching them do some of their drills. Like we went actually out to the combine and watched like some of the drills were out there, and seeing that like live and in person. And honestly, when you go to the actual combine, like to watch the drills and stuff, it's like going to church. It's silent in that stadium.
Wow.
I mean, ain't nobody making like much of a noise or anything like that. Even cheering or clapping when somebody does something great. Like remember, like think back to last year when it was oh my gosh, like why am I blanking on the wide receiver that went to the Chiefs that broke the 40 record? Why am I blanking on this name
Worthy.
right now?
Xavier Worthy.
Yeah, Xavier Worthy. I was about to say Xavier Legette, and I was like, no, I know that's not right. But we were like in the stadium, and it was like dead quiet. And of course, like we can watch the replay back now, but like you can hear all the cheers and stuff and people erupting when Worthy broke the 40 record. But that's about as loud as it gets.
Wow,
honestly, like crazy. Throughout the entire thing, because everybody's trying to keep quiet. Everyone's trying to pay attention to what's going on. There's nobody really trying to work the crowd or anything like that. The only people that really care about what's going on, or everybody's just watching the players, and that's it.
Yeah.
But in terms of rumblings, I actually was talking to a couple of guys. I think it was Friday night that we got the indication that the Raiders were interested in taking Ashton Jeanty. I actually bet Ashton Jeanty to the Raiders at 6. It was like plus 320, plus 325 at the time. Made a little bit of money off of that one. Matthew Berry wrote this up in his column shortly after coming back. We were also hearing the news about how Sanders was tanking in some of his interviews. And so a lot of the things that the fallout from that, and then also his drop throughout the draft, wasn't too much of a surprise. I didn't think he was going to go as late as he did.
Right.
I didn't think that he was going to go in the first round, just based off of some of the stuff that I heard. So you hear bits and pieces of things as you're talking to people. Actually, one of the funny things that happened was that there was I wouldn't say there was a fight. There was an altercation between Jordan Schultz, like the insider, and who was it? Rappaport. Ian Rappaport,
wow!
Like while we were out there, yeah, they got into some sort of shoving match at the Starbucks. Over at the JW Marriott. Yeah, I guess Schultz confronted Rappaport like over some reports that they had been I guess Schultz put out one report, Rappaport essentially responded to it, countering it and basically saying that's not what I'm hearing. And then Schultz actually confronted him in person at the Starbucks, and then Rappaport wound up calling security shortly thereafter. It was
wow.
Crazy. Everybody was talking about it like afterwards.
Well, Natter, it sounds like we need to go to Indianapolis next year just to see some
y'all need to get. I highly recommend anybody that can get up to Indianapolis for the combine. Man, it's fun. We are out from. I mean, in the morning throughout the day, if you're not catching interviews or creating content, like you're basically like sleeping. And then after the combine is done for the day, which is around like 6, 7, everybody's out having dinner at the steakhouses, and they're hanging out at the steakhouses, which essentially turns into a club around like 9, 10, 11 o'clock. And everybody's out to like 5, 6 o'clock in the morning.
Okay.
They're out late. Out late.
So I mean, you kind of started off with the altercation part, but did you ever see, I guess, a player do kind of poorly, and then on the sideline he's kind of having a fit?
No, I didn't see anybody having a fit. It's more, at least from what I've seen, if players don't do their drills properly, don't hit the marks or like their expectations, or don't hit the times that they're expecting, for the most part, I've seen them keep it under wraps, because the cameras are on them the entire time. But you might see, like from the TV broadcast, you just see them run their 40 and then they go off on the side, but there are still cameras following them pretty much the entire time that they're out there. The sky cam ones that like during the games, the ones that go right over, I mean, those are still kind of following like them across the field. There's another crew on the opposite side, because the analysts that are covering the combine that are down on the field, which is typically like it's been not Jerry Rice. Well, no, Jerry was out there, but also, oh my gosh, former Colts wide receiver that his
Reggie
son
Ryan?
was. Yeah, no, Marvin
Harrison. There we go.
Yeah, Marvin Harrison Sr. He's typically out there since it's at the Colts Stadium, and a couple other folks. Like there are cameras everywhere. So even if they go off the main broadcast, like there's always a camera that's probably out there that would catch them doing something. So for the most part, like they keep it under wraps.
Wow. Yeah.
Wow.
Good insight, guys. See, this is the type of insight that you're going to get on Level Up. So you're going to get a little bit of tidbits that are going to want to get you to the NFL Combine. So I'm really excited. I want to get there next year for sure.
So yeah. I mean, we like another quick story. So we were walking into one of the steakhouses. We get in. I mean, the place is packed. I turn around and like I hear somebody coming up behind me and they're like, excuse me, like polite. I mean, but they're just trying to get past. It's Mike McDaniel. He's trying to roll. He's trying to roll by. And like he's in there, he's kicking.
How is his persona? I mean, he just seems like
he's
a real
exactly
chill,
like he is, like super chill dude.
Yeah.
I mean, I know I'm not gonna say it. I'm not gonna say nothing like that. It just he looks like how he acts like on camera. He's like exactly the same.
Well, we may have to talk about something offline because I got a little theory about him.
I
do got a question about him.
But he is how you see him like in interviews and all that. Like he's very much just a smooth, I mean, just chill dude. I mean,
maybe a certain aroma or something, following behind him.
It's entirely possible. I can neither confirm nor deny.
I'm so lost on this one right now.
that we'll talk about it. We'll talk about it after show. I mean, it is after hours, but we'll talk about it after the show.
Right.
So, Chris, so I do want to talk to you about your we could just open it up as an open discussion. So, top five rookies that landed in their spot. So who are some top five guys? We'll start with you. What's one guy that stuck out to you after the draft was over that you think is going to be a benefactor on that team for fantasy purposes?
I think, I'll give you two because I think the easy one is going to be Ashton Jeanty because I think the Raiders, their draft coming into it could have been, they should have had the meat and potatoes draft, building to the future, focusing on the trenches, making sure they're going to keep Geno Smith protected. And that's the way they could have addressed it. Maybe tack on a skill player in the maybe 4th, 5th round to go alongside Jakobi Meyers, Brock Bowers. But that was essentially what most folks were expecting. Them grabbing Jeanty at 6, I think really signified the fact that they're trying to go for it and they want to try and compete as early as possible. And I get it. I mean, Pete Carroll ain't getting any younger. Right. I mean, you've got Tom Brady kind of pulling the strings from the from behind the scenes. And I think they have a lot of the core pieces in place so far. I mean, they get the quarterback in Geno, and of course we know he's no spring chicken either. Right. So it's just them putting the pedal to the metal and saying that we're going to get Jeanty. But on top of that, I mean, they do draft a number of players like later on down the line that at least give the idea that they are still trying to not just do the like the flashy draft, but they are trying to take into context what all they need for not just for this year, but moving forward. So Jeanty, I think, is the easy one. I mean, of course, everybody knows at this point, like how well he operates as a runner. I mean, what was it? Just short of like over 2,000 rushing yards, like just as a pure runner. But I think the biggest thing for me, and I know I've seen this stat like put out like a few times, it was Ashton Jeanty, like alone, like over 2,000, over 2,200 like rushing yards. That's just by himself. Number one rusher throughout the regular season in all of FBS. But yards after contact, Jeanty had almost 1,700 rushing yards after contact. And that's also more than everybody else in the FBS. So the top 2 runners in the entirety of the FBS was Ashton Jeanty total, and then just Ashton Jeanty after contact. Like that's it. Like that's wild to me that this is how powerful of a runner that he is, but also the fairly solid pass catcher as well. So if you toss him onto the Raiders, again, Jakobi Meyers, serviceable wide receiver. Of course, you've got Brock Bowers operating it there as well. he does have a path to having that type of workload that you would want to see out of a first round running back.
Mhm.
And so I can see him as being like the more popular running back that's going to get picked in the top 12. But so I say all that to say he's the easy one, right? He's the one that everybody's going to continue to look at throughout the offseason. The other one I think is at least somewhat interesting to me, and I'll go a little bit farther down my top 5, and he's my fourth rookie coming out of this class. It's Ted McMillan.
Okay.
And I think at least for his landing spot, going to the Panthers, of course, we saw some flashes out of Xavier Legette, saw some flashes out of Jalen Coker. Adam Thielen is still kicking around like out of the slot. I mean, there's just bits and pieces there, but they don't have an established wide receiver one. And so them going out and getting Ted, I mean, 6'4", almost 220 pounds, like he has the archetype of your prototypical wide receiver one. I mean, the comps for him, everybody was throwing out the T. Higgins comp throughout the offseason before the draft. Folks were talking about likening him to Courtland Sutton. I mean, the statistical and archetypal comps for him kind of fall into those high or like mid-range wide receiver one-ish type guys. And so for the Panthers to go out and get him, give Bryce Young not just a big target, because we know with Bryce Young's stature, he's going to potentially need a larger target, but also it falls onto a team that was kind of they were picking up towards the back end of the season, right? After the benching, we saw Bryce Young really start to develop, pressure to sack rate going down, EPA per dropback coming up. And of course, I still remember, what was it, against the Falcons where he had the no-look touchdown, or not touchdown, but I mean, that was dope, right?
That was nasty.
So it's just that. So it's just those types of things, the confidence, the things that we saw about him, like coming out of college, and also the measurables also was like starting to show out for Bryce Young. So now actually adding in a legitimate wide receiver one to go with this group of pass catchers, these signals to me that Tet could be the one that really starts to benefit a bit more than the rest of the guys. But again, he's more interesting to me than some of the other guys. I mean, of course, you'll have your Quinshon Judkins, your Travion Hendersons. I mean, those like the other running backs. But really, for me, it's those two guys. It's Genty. That's going to be at everybody's, probably everybody's number one rookie coming out of this class. But then Tet McMillan, it's just the fit between what he was as a prospect and now where he'll be as a player and his talent level. Like, he's the one that kind of sticks out to me as the more interesting one out of my top 5.
So, which is funny because just in last episode, Tip and I, we were discussing McMillan, and I said, you know what, I think he should drop a little bit. I'm not the biggest fan of him because his biggest scouting report coming out was, struggles to separate. And I don't know. I'm still struggling to remember and think of a wide receiver that has had that comp on him and succeeded in the NFL. I can't. I mean, of course, I'd have to go ruffling the details on that. But on the top of my head, I can't think of one. Kenny Golladay had that. He had one good year, and then he just fell off a cliff. I can't think of another one on the top of my head.
I don't know if Courtland Sutton had problems with separation. I've also seen Mike Williams tossed around as a potential comp for Tet. He's also had problems with struggles with separating, but at least his catch radius and frame allows him to at least be that contested catch receiver. Now, the hope would be for Tet, he doesn't wind up throwing his body around like Mike Williams has over the past 3, 4, 5 years and have enough catastrophic injuries that it's really sapped a lot of his contested catch ability, right? So if he can at least stay in that, because Courtland Sutton, also big body guy, contested catch type receiver, you really need to have an accurate quarterback or quarterback that's willing to throw into some of those tight windows. And I think Bryce Young has that. If you have the quarterback that's capable of doing it, and you also have a receiver that can operate in those types of scenarios, which I think Tet can, it at least matches up. It makes it more volatile, but it has the potential to be something where once that spark gets lit, I mean, it's not going to stop after that. Bryce is going to continue to look for Tet in those types of situations. So I'm not as concerned, but I think it's a fair point, Natter, that the separation concerns you would hope would, especially for a quarterback that's still on that developmental track like Bryce Young is, to have a guy that he's more He's more Jamar Chase. He's more Malik Neighbors. He's more Justin Jefferson, the guy that can get open and just have like these wide open spaces where it's just like not a defender within like 5 yards. You would probably want that more for Bryce Young than a guy like Tet. But at least in this class, there weren't too many of them that were going to be available to the Panthers at their pick. So it's like I understand why they took the swing on Tet at that point as like when they did.
Well, the other thing too that I'll say about the Panthers that I liked over the course of last season was that you saw their offensive line get better. It got way better, especially towards the end of the season. And that's going to help somebody with Bryce Young. And that's going to help somebody, the whole offense in itself, to help the run game. It's going to help Tet McMillan as well. The thing about Tet McMillan for me, as far as what I see the Panthers utilizing him more as a guy who they're going to utilize him in the red zone. I think the guy is an easy 8 touchdown guy. I think I could see him really get the touchdowns there. I just don't know if I could see him getting the yardage because this offense is still evolving. It's still a learning. It's still progressing offense. So I see a situation where, Tet McMillan could, have a couple games where he has 2 or more touchdowns. And you're like, oh, wow, okay, this guy. But he's never just going to have that big yardage game. Not yet. Not in the, that's going to be something that's going to have, he's going to have to learn. Maybe Dave Canales and the offensive coordinators there, they teach him some ways to separate, to get him a little bit faster, to get him a little quicker. But I think that Tet McMillan is a good fit for that offense. I think that is a piece that they need. They need a big play, a big presence at the wide receiver position. And I think that Tet McMillan was a good pick for them. I think that it was necessary for him to get him at that point.
Yeah, I agree. And I think you bring up a good point there, Tip, because it's what is that on-ramp plan look like for Tet? Because we were talking about it earlier, right? They already have Xavier Legette like on there. They've got Jalen Coker on there. Thielen's still kicking around. So they already have multiple receivers that play different roles. And Dave Canales, who's the head coach now, former OC down at the Bucs, and also quarterbacks coach when out at Seattle. But in each one of his former stops, like the teams that he was playing with, they were running 3 wide receiver sets at one of the highest rates in the league, because it was DK Metcalf and JSN and Tyler Lockett. Or when he was down in Tampa, it was Mike Evans and then Chris Godwin, and then like whichever third receiver they had kicking behind them, were Sterling Shepard or whomever. So it's like I can see a situation where it's Tet on the field with Legette and then Coker. But to your point, Natter, if Tet is having problems separating, is Bryce going to throw him the ball, or is he going to throw Adam Thielen the ball out of the slot because he's got no defenders around him? Or is he going to throw Xavier Legette the ball because Legette plays flanker, so he's going to have a little bit more runway in order to get open? Or do they switch it around? Do they try and maybe put Tet in the slot and maybe have him operate as a big slot for a hot minute and maybe try something out there to see how he gets some live action type of snaps? Or do they move him off the line and put Xavier Legette up as the split end? So it's just, how does that look when you already have 2-3 receivers that kind of fit into these specific roles already, that might take away from the development of a guy like Tet that could actually need that, where it's almost the opposite of what happened to Marvin Harrison? Because Marvin Harrison last year, as big of a bodied wide receiver as he is, he had the ability to move around. They just didn't do it for him, right? Like he could have gone into the slot, because they had too many other slot receivers there. He could have moved off the line. They didn't do that for him. So it's just, I can see the potential hiccups for a guy like Tet, because they do have some of those guys already in those spots. So unless there's a specific plan to say, all right, we'll start you off working the inside here so we can see how your releases work, and then maybe afterwards we'll shift you out to the outside where you'll have tougher coverage out here. And then if you perform well here, then we'll put you in the premier X receiver role, going up against the top defender for the other team. It's like, okay, so we kind of move you up the ranks. So if that's the plan, cool, I can get behind that. But if it's week 1 and he's out there and it's him right across from insert top end defender here, then it's like, oh shoot, we might be in trouble, right? Like we might be having to, flip and try and look at Coker, Legette, Thielen for fantasy production, because it might be tough sledding for Tet until he gets his legs underneath him.
Yep. All right, Natter, give us a couple of players that you were eyeing.
Well, I could say Omarion Hampton. I feel like that's an easy one. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to, skip over him. I feel like, Genty and Hampton, they're 101 and 102 in non-super flex leagues. And even then, you could argue for that as well. I'm going to probably talk about Matthew Golden, the Green Bay wide receiver. And I feel like, one, I think he's a solid receiver that fits the scheme that they try to run. Two, I feel like, I don't know. I don't think it's fair to say that he has to succeed, but I feel like they need him to succeed because this is the first wide receiver they've drafted in the first round in 20 plus years. And you know what? If he doesn't do good, then, well, you know what? They're just probably never going to do it again. They're going to say, oh, well, we had a working formula. Then, you know what? We're just going to stick to defensive ends, defensive players or in the first round as they've always done. So I feel like that the fact that they've took a swing so hard on a wide receiver that he has to succeed in that offense, and I think he will.
So you think that the Green Bay Packers will do any and everything to make sure he succeeds because of the fact that they drafted him in the first round. It was the first time in a long time that they've done that. So I like that. I like that insight that you have on Natter because that's a different way of looking at it.
So that's one way of. I wouldn't say like, oh, they're gonna like force feed him the football to make sure his stats are padded. But I think, I think they did their due diligence on making sure, okay, this player fits in the scheme and he's actually going to be useful and successful in the scheme that we currently run. Not okay, guys, give him the football. He needs like 30 PPR points now. I mean, well, I'm all for it. Right. I don't think that's going to be the case. I think it's just going to be a solid scheme fit player.
I think my biggest concern is what does this now mean for the rest of the pass catchers that are on the Packers right now? Because it's a crowded room, fellas. And I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm not going to say that. Every single wide receiver on that roster needs to deserve playing time. I mean, who wasn't promoting Dontavian Wicks as the sleeper wide receiver coming into last season? But if it's not just Wicks, it's Jaden Reed, it's Romeo Doubs if he's not mad about how much playing time he is or isn't getting. I mean, they sunk a third-round pick into, who is it, Savion, hopefully I'm pronouncing his first name correctly, Savion Williams. They'll have Malik Heath, who's popped up for a couple of big games like here and there. They got Mecole Hardman sitting on their roster right now. So it's like, what is this pass-catching group going to look like? Because I would at least put money on the idea that this is not going to be the same list of receivers that they're going to have come September.
Right. I know.
Like some of these guys are going to get moved. Somebody's going to get cut or whatever. Right. And well, of course, I'm assuming that Christian Watson is going to be available in week 1, but still there's got to be some sort of plan to suss out who's going to be the main rotation of wide receivers. And that's not even to mention Tucker Kraft and Luke Musgrave, who also have to factor into this in some way, shape, or form. So it's just, what is this rotation going to look like for the wide receivers? And this is also in a team that's still fairly balanced in terms of pass rate of expectation. Like I think bottom half of the league in PROE just this last year. Yes. So what is this whole offense going to look like, and how can we harvest the most value out of it? I think Golden should be a part of it. I mean, I 100% agree with you, Natter, but just how much of that relative to the other guys is he really going to take? Like how much of that pie is he really going to get when the passing pie in Green Bay historically hasn't been that large to begin with?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest keys is the fact that he probably isn't going to have to do too much to be on the field. I mean, Christian Watson, he's going to have a phenomenal 2-3 weeks till he tears his hamstring once again. And it's assuming he's even on the team. Same with Romeo Doubs. I mean, those two are some of the most injury-prone wide receivers that, I mean, I feel like I've seen in my time, minus Julio Jones, at the back end of his career. Yeah. Jaden Reed is probably the only real competition. Wicks, while he was touted as one of the most sleeper players, he had, I think, like 1 or 2 good weeks, and then after that, for the most part, he was a dud. He had one early in the year where he had busted out for like 30 fantasy points, and then after that, he was just a hot waiver pick. He got to start him. Well, other than that, he didn't do too much throughout the year. I feel like, while you look at it at a big scope, you're going to see, there's a lot of like pass catchers, but I feel like when you really dive into it, honestly, I feel like the wide receiving core isn't that strong, minus Golden now.
Yeah, that's completely fair. It's just, My only concern would be like, we can see it that way.
Yes.
But is Matt LaFleur going to see it that way?
Hopefully, because I mean, I'm sure I would assume that they at least consulted him and said, hey, we're looking at this guy, we're looking at these. What do you guys think? I would assume, I know some owners, or some GMs, they're not quite like that, where they want to share who they're potentially drafting, considering, they didn't even tell Aaron Rodgers that they were taking Jordan Love. So, I mean, I'm going to, the Packers have never gave me any reason to doubt the way they're run. They've always been a competent team that seems like they've been run decently. I'm not going to doubt them this time.
Yeah, I like Golden. I like Golden there. I think that it makes sense. I think that he is going to really give Romeo Doubs a run for his money. Like, Romeo Doubs is going to have to come in the best shape of his life. Attitude's going to have to change. He's going to have to, because Golden can do those same things, but he also has blazing speed. Like, it's like he's going to have to get ready for that. And then not only that, he's also going to have to get ready for, he's also going to have to get ready for, Christian Watson. I think that he's on the way out. I mean, there's a ton of these guys that can take Christian Watson's space because, he's a burner, but now you got a guy like Golden who's a burner, and now we got a situation where he just hasn't been healthy. So it's going to be a jumbled mess, like we all had said. And once they get it in order and they figure out where those pieces are going to be, then we're going to really see this offense take off. We're going to see more continuity, more cohesiveness, and it's going to be a really good, fun offense to watch. So I like it. I do like Golden. Natter, who you got another one for us?
Yeah, so I think a lot of the times, if you don't know who to put in the top 5, figure out who's not in the top 5. And Travis Hunter, to me, is somebody that I'm going to put him in a box that a lot of people are saying, oh, he's a top 5 player because, you could put him on both sides of the football. But, sometimes you also have to think about is how stressful owning specific players are in your fantasy team. Like, for example, like Zay Flowers last year, he was a little stressful to own because, he sometimes had his big games and a lot of times he didn't have him. Like Rashee Rice, he was stressful to own. Like Travis Kelce, he was stressful to own because, like, you can't bench him, but sometimes, like, he just didn't do what you invested in draft capital. Same way with the Dolphins wide receivers. I mean, they were stressful to own because you can't bench them, but you can't start them, and they were difficult to navigate with, Tua being hurt. And I would put Travis Hunter in that category where it's like you're sitting there thinking, like, God, I really hope he does something this week. God, like, I hope like the scenario where they actually play him and, he's an actual piece in that offense, not just blowing smoke and saying, oh, we're going to do this, we're going to do that, but they don't actually come to fruition. It's not fun to do that. Like, I would say just, hey, stay away from him. Let it be somebody else's problem. If he does good for him. If he doesn't, then you just don't have to deal with it anymore.
Yeah, no, I like that too. And for me, look, I'm gonna say right now, I think Travis Hunter is gonna blow the roof off of. Well, the roof's already off, but I think he's gonna just do whatever it is that we think that he's going to do. He's gonna do that and then more. Especially from the offensive side. The defensive side, I don't think that they brought him in there to necessarily play defense. I think that he will get on the defensive side of the ball every once in a while, but I think that, look, Liam Cohen, he's an aggressive play caller. He wants to get the ball down the field. He wants to score points quick. So he's got 2 dynamic receivers now. You got, Brian Thomas Jr., who I think was the best rookie wide receiver. Maybe Malik Neighbors, you could say, but 1A, 1B. I mean, they were right there. And then now you got a guy like Travis Hunter, who is just electric with the ball in his hands. I think this whole offense can have a rejuvenation. And we talked a little bit about it last time, Natter, where this is Trevor Lawrence. This is literally this is it for you, dude. You have no more excuses. You've got no more excuses, man. So, like, all of that has to be out the window. We understand the coaches that you've had in the past. Yes, but this right now, they are giving you every opportunity. They said they were going to be aggressive. They did it. They were aggressive. They got you a player. And look, now it's about put up or shut up time for Trevor Lawrence. And I think that this offense will be pretty good. I like what I've seen from it. We'll see what happens in in Duval County there. But I think that is something that's going to be something that everybody is going to look at this offense later in the year and be like, man, this is a dynamic offense. And I don't think it's going to be a top 5 offense or anything like that, but I do think it will be a dynamic, way more dynamic than it's been the last several years. For me, I'm going to give you one of my guys real quick that I keep looking at the Chicago Bears team, man. And I tell you, I know a lot of people are talking about it. I'm finishing up an article about them. What they've done to help Caleb Williams. Last year, Caleb Williams, 57% passing completion and on third downs. They saw that was a weakness for this team. So what do? They go out there and they get Colston Loveland and they get Luther Burden. Both of these guys are built for and will help that third down percentage. Mm-hmm. So I think that what they did by getting those 2 players was just a lights out, hit it out of the park, whatever you want to call it. They did it, and they are in line with getting the offensive line straightened away. They're in line with getting Caleb Williams easy percentage targets or catches or pass catchers. They are in line to really have a good offense. Now, this is an offense that I think that can get into the top 10. The last few years under Eberflus, they've ranked bottom of the league, or right at the very last of the league. They average in the last 3 years 19.5 points per game. I think that they can easily get into the 20s, 24, 25 points per game. If they do that, they will be a top 10 offense. I think they can do that. And I'm looking forward to it. And so I'm really big on both of those players. I think that I keep looking at what did they do for Caleb Williams. They got him a good offensive line now. They've got some solid veteran pieces on the offensive line to help protect him. They didn't do much in the run game. Okay, that's fine. But, look, Caleb Williams with these receivers that he already had in his arsenal, now you add these 2 other receivers to it, or a tight end and a receiver, I think the sky's the limit for this offense.
No, I agree. I agree with both, honestly, both the players that y'all have mentioned. And I think the big thing for Travis Hunter, going back to your point, bringing him up, Natter, is that for a guy of his size, because Travis Hunter, not a big dude, like 6 foot, maybe $190, like somewhere in there. I think the biggest thing for him was, so let's say if he had gone to the Browns,
yikes,
like he was originally supposed to, right, with the pick that they had. He would have essentially had to have walked in there and been their wide receiver 1, because we really thinking that Jerry Jeudy is going to be able to hold down the spot for another year? I don't think so. A good player. Actually, he ran the most routes of any wide receiver just this past season. Jerry Jeudy did. I think it was over 600 routes, if I remember correctly. But still, not the wide receiver 1 that you would really want to have for your particular team. But if Travis Hunter would have been drafted number 2 overall, gone to the Browns, that would have been the expectation set with what the team was paying and what they were telling us with their wallet. He would have had to have been their wide receiver 1. He goes to Jacksonville, that pressure is taken off of him. Brian Thomas is their wide receiver 1. He can operate as that wide receiver 2. So now not only does Trevor Lawrence have 2 solid pass catchers in order to work with, to your point, Tip, he now has 2 solid wide receivers to go along with it. We saw Brian Thomas break out down the stretch. Of course, it wasn't with Trevor Lawrence. But it is what it is. It was with Mac Jones. But still, we could see not just the contested catch ability. We saw the yards after the catch. We saw the efficiency throughout the back half of the season. So now he's getting a second weapon in Travis Hunter, highly efficient in Colorado. Around 2.4, 2.5 yards per route run when he was with catching passes from Shedeur, and that's fine. So if you're now attaching him to this offense with a progressive play caller in Liam Cohen, who wants to push the ball down the field, who wants to get more passes out there, then it's just this is what you would want to see out of an offense that you at least think has some inclination that they know they have a good quarterback. So yeah, I'm completely there with you on him. But then I guess flipping it real quick to the other player that you were talking about, Tip, in just the Bears offense, I guess my only concern with the Bears offense, and this is kind of my concern just with Ben Johnson as a whole, not to say he's a bad play caller or whatever. It's more about how are the touchdowns going to be distributed? because we can look at this offense and we can almost approach it the same way that we approached the passing game last year, because it was like, oh, Caleb Williams has DJ Moore, he has Keenan Allen, he has Rome Odunze. So it's just, I mean, just fire the cannons. I mean, Caleb Williams, 40 touchdowns. But we all know how Ben Johnson operated when it was in Detroit. What happened once they got inside the 10? It was a Dave Montgomery show, right? So unless we are assuming that there's going to be a lot more pass attempts, but historically the Detroit Lions under Ben Johnson, they were back half of the league, bottom 10, bottom 12 in pass rate over expectation. How is that volume going to be generated enough such that Caleb Williams is going to be this quarterback from a fantasy standpoint that we want? Not to say that he can't do it and not say that he won't do it. It's just that is my concern with Ben Johnson, like pulling the strings, is that once they get inside the red zone, once they get inside the 10, once they get inside the green zone, it's just, are you now going to be turning the ball over to insert running back here? Right. And so that's where I have at least some hesitation behind all that, because I can easily see the story, especially after they drafted Colston Loveland too. So they got all the pieces there.
They've got all the pieces.
Pieces there. But then it's like week one, they're driving down the field. Caleb is making highlight throw after highlight throw, and then they get into the red zone, and then handoff, touchdown.
In Detroit, you can look, those two receiver or running backs that they had in Detroit. What do they call them? Sonic and Knuckles. I like the Bruise Brothers better. I thought that was funny. But the Sonic and Knuckles thing. Look, I'm not going to sit here and say that DeAndre Swift is Jahmyr Gibbs, and I'm not going to sit here and say Roschon Johnson is David Montgomery.
Absolutely,
but they have that 1-2 punch that they could utilize. I just feel like with Colston Loveland there and his big frame, and you still got Cole Kmet there. I think Cole Kmet is going to be more of their blocking tight end, but Cole Kmet can catch passes too. I just think that there is a sky limit for this offense. I do understand that it's going to take some time though. Look, Ben Johnson probably has one of the more complicated offenses out there, as far as anybody can touch the ball. Like, you got offensive linemen that can get the ball. You've got anybody can literally touch the ball. And so it's going to take some time for these guys to learn it. It's going to take some time to gel. I think once you get out of that 4 to 6 week range, hopefully they have some games under their belt that they win. But after you get up about that 4 to 6 week, then I think that's when this offense starts to take off. You always have that first 4 weeks or so is in the NFL anyway. Everybody's trying to get their feet under them, trying to gel and become a unit. And then you have the really good teams that are they're ready to go week one. Right. But then most teams, it takes them about 2 to 4 weeks. I think they're going to be falling under that line, like 2 to 4, maybe 6 weeks. Then you're going to say, oh, okay. If you remember last year, they started off really hot, and then they tailed off towards the end of this season. I think this season they kind of start lukewarm, mediocre. They're okay. They maybe have a 500 record, and then they start to put it together, and then they start to piece things together. It's going to be fun to watch. I can't wait to watch it.
Yeah, I'm hoping to see him improve in him. And I would say that the pros for Caleb in year 2 would be that he was actually one of the top quarterbacks in the league in terms of scramble rate. So the rushing potential could be there for him. Yeah. Now, scrambles, I mean, those are volatile. Those are unexpected. Those are supposed to be pass plays that turn into rushing plays, but at least Caleb had it in him in order to tuck the ball and run. So it's just if the running or the ground game element is still going to be a part of what Ben Johnson wants to keep as a part of Caleb's game, like in year 2, like with this switch over in terms of schematics, then I'm cool with that. But again, I just have a concern, not saying it's not going to happen or anything like that. I'm just saying I can see a scenario where, again, they march the ball down the field through the pass, and then once they get inside the 10, it's just run, Bears touchdown, but it's not from Caleb.
Which would be a little rough. You assume that the Bears know how to run the ball, especially in the red zone. See, that's the thing. Like, they got to be able to run the ball, and they've never really been Actually, I shouldn't say never, but it's been a while since I felt
Recently.
like
It's probably been since like Matt Forte was wearing
Yeah.
a Chicago Bears jersey that
Mhm,
game too. Maybe,
mhm.
maybe Ben
Matt
Johnson brings it back.
Forte.
He brings that the ground and pound game back to
Oh.
the cold city of Chicago.
I mean, if there was a person to do it, it would be Ben Johnson. And now
Yes,
you guys
sir.
mentioned Luther Burden. I mean, don't you guys feel like he's getting kind of depth chart buried in a way? Where,
I think.
there's just like
I think he is, but I think he'll be a necessary part of this offense. I think that what he can do, his skill set, him playing in the slot. Ben Johnson, look, I'm not going to sit here and say it. I'm not going to say he's going to be the next Amon-Ra St. Brown, but that slot position is important in Ben Johnson's offense.
Yeah.
And with that being said, Luther Burden, again, is a rookie. Yes, we get it. We understand. But they don't really have another guy who could. I mean, Rome Odunze? No, not really.
Primarily played outside.
DJ Moore, he can move around. You can move him around a little bit, but that's just something that DJ Moore has always been able to do. I think Luther Burden will be entrenched there in the slot. He'll be their slot guy, and you'll see some weeks that he just rips off 8-10 catches, and you're just like, damn, okay, where did that come from? And then you'll see some weeks where I think it's going to be sporadic. It'll be very up and down. I think you'll see some weeks where you'll be like, man, where does Luther Burden? Oh, okay, Colston Loveland's eating this week, or Rome Odunze is eating this week. So it's going to be one of those situations. I think another thing too, and this is what Chris was talking about, I think that, with Ben Johnson, he's going to want to bring more of a balanced attack too. He's not going to just chunk it up 40 times a game. He's going to want to bring a balanced attack to this thing, but it's just going to be a little bit more intriguing of what they're going to do with this run game going forward.
I mean, you have to think there's a lot of wide receivers that get drafted that we assume are going to have carved specific roles. And, I don't want to name names, even though I'm going to. Like, for example, like Terrence Marshall Jr. He was drafted in the second round by the Panthers. I don't even know what team he's currently on right now. And, he got depth chart buried by DJ Moore. And let's see, there was another one, Robbie Anderson. And there was even a third wide receiver. And then, everyone said, oh, they spent second round capital on this guy. Of course he's going to see the field, but he's got to be better than those players. And you know what? Maybe it was that case for Terrence Marshall, but there were just so many other quality receivers ahead of him. Even when DJ Moore left, he still couldn't see this field consistently to perform in a fantasy football basis. And there's a couple of receivers on the Rams. I can't remember their names off the top of my head. Where there was Cooper Kupp, and then come on, a couple of years ago. Help me out here, guys. Who were the three trifecta receivers on the Rams a couple of years ago?
So Van Jefferson.
Van Jefferson. He definitely got depth chart buried by the Rams.
Cooper Kupp. You had Van Jefferson, Tutu Atwell.
He got depth chart buried. Just because an elite offense drafts a player doesn't mean they're going to be good. Not just for that reason, but. They might just get depth chart buried by the receivers ahead of them. Because, it was, like you said, Cooper Kupp, Robert Woods, and then Brandon Cooks is also on that team now. Of course, it's going to be difficult for you to shine in front of those three receivers. But, being depth chart buried is something that I feel like people don't necessarily look at as much, and they don't take it into consideration. Maybe it's just me being a skeptical and a pessimist about players, but that's kind of how I look at it.
No, I think that's fair. I think that's completely fair to look at it. It's almost I'd say it's another layer of what we were talking about earlier, is that we don't know how this offense is going to operate this season. Like, we don't know how well Burden is going to really fit into this offense. I mean, because we haven't even really given, we've mentioned Colston Loveland, but Ben Johnson was talking about Colston Loveland like he was Sam Laporta. He compared him to Laporta.
As soon as he drafted him, he said on there, he was like, you could see how ecstatic that Ben Johnson was about it, man. It was really cool. There was something that I said in the article that I'm writing, but I can't remember right now word for word what he said. But he was like, he said, we're cooking with hot grease now.
That's what it was. I remember hearing that.
We're cooking with hot grease now. He said, are you ready? He said, are you ready? Are you ready? And then, of course, Colston Loveland's like, oh, I've been ready. I was born ready. I'm ready to go. And then, so when you get a coach like that, who's very excited about a player, who wanted that player or wanted that position, then man, look, that speaks volumes to me. I don't think that Ben Johnson is coming in here and going to draft somebody that high and not utilize him when he had success with Sam Laporta.
Right.
So I think that close to Loveland, man. I just got him in one of my dynasty drafts that I'm doing right now. I got him with the 12th pick, and I'm not looking back. I think that this is going to be a situation that's going to really flourish for him.
Yeah, and so now let's run this out. So you've got DJ Moore operating potentially as the Z. You might have Rome Odunze operating as the X. Throw Burden in the slot. You've got Colston Loveland opposite him. You've got 4 pass catchers out in the route. How often is Caleb really going to be pulling the trigger on Burden? Right off the rip. Yeah. With those guys out there.
I think it will take time. I said, I think it will take time. But then there's going to be those games where you're just like, oh shit, okay.
Yeah.
Burden got eight catches for 70 yards or something like that, and maybe a touchdown. And you're going to be like, wow, he just threw up 23 points. And it's like, okay, where did that come from?
In a fantasy football aspect, like you need consistency more than anything.
Yeah, you're right. And he is a best ball player dream. I think he is best ball guy for sure.
We always said, hey, you got to stay away from the Patriots running back committee because you never knew who was going to score or who's going to get the bulk of the carries that week. And hey, it's cool from an actual NFL perspective. Hey, they got a lot of pass catchers on that team.
Yes.
For that aspect. Yeah, but in a fantasy football world, an aspect in that case, it's not good at all. We don't want that. We don't want a variable. We want specifics. Hey, this guy, he's going to get 10 targets this game. What he does with those 10 targets, we're not sure, but we know he's getting 10 targets this game.
Right.
And running back, he's getting 20 carries this game. What he does, we don't know, but he's getting 20. And DeAndre Swift, I think he's probably going to be the most consistent player in this offense. I know he's probably getting at least 15 touches a game. And that's probably going to put him in the RB2 range.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know about the pass catchers.
Yeah, that's why it's going to be tough to figure out. They're going to be fun to watch. I mean, Tip, to your point earlier, they're going to be fun to watch. And I think the ascension with the revamped offensive line, bringing in Ben Johnson, adding in some more skilled players, I mean, it all just signals that this is a team that wants to really take a step forward, a big step forward in the NFC. But from a fantasy standpoint, man, this is just as bad as the Packers wide receiver room. We don't know
I would argue worse.
Yeah. Because now instead of a bunch of bad, I would say not bad talent, I'd say a bunch of mediocre talent that's compared to the wide receiver room in Green Bay, you've now got legit talent across the board in Chicago, and that's almost tougher to figure out.
Because you can't justify one person over the other. It's like,
not really.
I mean, and Justin Fields ain't the quarterback anymore.
Right. God. No, this is piloted by a quarterback that should be able to step up in the pocket and start to have more than, let's say, 35, 40 dropbacks a game, passing volume starting to pick up, and all of the things that you would want to see out of a second-year passer, but also out of a fantasy-friendly passing game.
Mm-hmm.
Well, It sounds to me like we're all on board with Caleb Williams.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I'm not going to do that just yet.
Oh. I think I saw enough there that with a better coordinator and a better play sequencer, we should see more out of him in year 2. Not to say that he's going to be top 12 or anything. I'm saying he should take a step forward than where he was at last year.
I mean, if you think about it, there's always a script the NFL follows. And, for example, the Raiders player getting arrested. The Steelers having a diva wide receiver.
Come on, Natter. We almost made it through a whole show. We almost made it through a whole show without you getting on the Raiders, and you had to go.
The Patriots always having a star cornerback. The Niners having an elite middle linebacker. And to top it off, there's always a bad Bears quarterback. And when Jay Cutler is the best quarterback in the franchise's history, I think it says something. And you know what? I just think history doesn't lie. And they're just destined to not have a good quarterback.
It could be. I mean, it could be. I would hate to see it, but I can't count it out.
That's terrible. But Tip, lead us on.
No, that's the show for today. I mean, it was a great conversation. Chris, again, talk to us. Tell us where we can find your great work and some of the great things that you're doing.
You can find me over at Fantasy Life. Like I said, the Explainer series that I've been working on, I've got 4 up already, kind of breaking down some of the even basic stats and metrics that we use to characterize and evaluate any skill position. Been working through that. And other than that, man, I'm just trying to chill this off season, to be quite honest with you, trying to make sure that I get enough rest in between, spend some time with the fam, maybe get in some good best ball drafts and all of that before we really start to pick things up come July, August, and of course when our lives end, when September hits. So for right now, just trying to work behind the scenes like here and there. But yeah, if you need me or anything like that, at Chris Allen FFWX on X, and also Blue Sky if you're kicking it over there. So yeah, come find me and ask me any questions you might need. Always around to help.
Yeah, it's weird seeing nothing in the background of your cam right now. Usually,
that's what I'm saying, man. We're like we trying to get up out of this house, man. We trying to make moves, like both not just like in fantasy, but also in real life, man. Trying to upgrade on the house and all that too.
There you go, guys, on that. You're in the Cincinnati area, right? If I remember,
yeah, hour north of Cincinnati, Dayton, Ohio.
There we go. See, look at that. It's been a while. But
that's the sign of a good host, man. You got this stuff. You got this stuff locked up, man.
Not even. I'll remember the randomest thing, but if you ask me what I had for breakfast the other day, I won't remember.
Right? Yeah.
Wait, isn't Dayton? Isn't that where Steph Curry was born?
That'd be news to me. I didn't think.
I don't know. Let's look that up. I think he was born in Dayton.
Akron.
Oh, he was born in Akron.
Yeah.
Okay. So
I thought he was from.
He was born where LeBron. Okay.
Yeah, so I knew he's from Ohio, but I didn't think he was Dayton.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's cool.
At least you're not a Browns fan, right, Chris?
No.
Yeah,
I went to college. I went to college in Cincinnati, so I'm a long-suffering Bengals fan.
Not for long, Chris. Not for long. I think the Bengals. If they can get
poverty
this defense,
franchise.
No, look, they get this.
They're kind of a poverty franchise, man.
They get this defense fixed. I think that they got a shot to do some stuff.
Hey, man,
yeah, if they get this defense fixed. Yeah, if they open up their playbooks, they.
I'm a simple man. I'm not asking for no dynasty. I don't need no Chiefs three-peat. I don't need no Patriots dynasty. I'm just asking for one championship in my lifetime. That's all I'm asking.
I think you might get that in the next. I say in the next 10 years. I think you'll get one.
Look, hey, but that's all I'm asking for, fellas. I'm a simple guy. I just have one small request. Let me watch a parade down in Cincinnati after we win a Super Bowl in my lifetime. I'd appreciate.
Well, I'm as a Raiders fan. I want multiple championships.
You asked for too much. See, you asked too much.
You're a Raiders fan. You get it.
Just
I want it all. I'm tired of 15 getting them all. I want them all.
You get a criminal backgrounded player, and you'll like it.
Oh man, Natter, tell us where we can find you, bro.
No, please don't find me.
No, don't find you.
No, please don't find me.
Don't find Natter.
Don't go looking for me. But other than that, hey, good luck, everybody.
Peace.